Tonight, newly public video in the case of Ahmaud Arbery. The Georgia Bureau of Investigation confirms it is reviewing this surveillance video obtained by the Atlanta Journal-Constitution showing a person walking up to a house, entering, then leaving a short time later.
Etepu, this is Kasakma Keperu, son of Martin Tahuti, here with another video for you. And in this video, I want to talk about a photograph that has been making rounds on social media. This is in relationship to the voice you heard from the news broadcast regarding Ahmaud Arbery's killing by 3 white supremacists who were looking to lynch a black person for what they call have been recent robberies in the neighborhood. So apparently, these 3 white supremacists who have associations with law enforcement there, I believe one of them was on law enforcement, an investigator in law enforcement. These 3 individuals had made claims of robberies in the neighborhood, so they got into their trucks and started to peruse the neighborhood looking for the assailant. And they came across Ahmaud Arbery, and they ended up shooting and killing him. And the recent video has come out showing that this was an assassination. This was a modern-day lynching. There were no burglaries in the neighborhood. Ahmaud Arbery was a law-abiding citizen who happened to be jogging and at the wrong place at the wrong time. And unfortunately, he lost his life. And they've also exposed some corruption in this in Georgia, because it took 3 months for these individuals, father and son, to be arrested. And this corruption, you should know, is in fact widespread. It is not something that's isolated, and we need to realize that. But I want to really get to the heart of the matter, which is this photo that has been circulating. It's been put out by this woman, I'm not going to say her name, which shows her and her array of weapons that she's laid out in front of her house. And if you look to the far background here, that's her son. So she's taking a stand and sending a message that she is not going to tolerate these assassinations or modern-day lynchings from white supremacists. And she's armed and ready. The person taking the photo is her husband. Now, I had to do a quick write-up about this because there are so many things wrong with this photo. But the first thing I want to talk about is a pervasive issue that affects African Americans in this country, and that is being caught up in form over substance. It is to our detriment. We are so myopic and narrowly focused on form that substance, the hearts of the issues, are left by the wayside. Now, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I do have a military background. I was trained by a very well-known gentleman who I can't mention because he does bodyguard work now for very prominent people. He was in Special Forces, and he was part of the elite, and I trained with him as a personal student, meaning I was at his home. I went down to his basement where he showed me a secret room he had full of different weapons and an arsenal. But what I want you to understand here is what's being shown and done here is just mind-boggling. And I don't understand why black people are so caught up in these symbolic shows of force. This is meaningless. Now, like I said, there's layers upon layers of things that are wrong with this image. First off, anybody in the military knows you don't go showing your weapons openly like this. The other thing is, she's standing there in high heels and a dress as if she's going out to dinner. Who does that? Who holds weapons in high heels as if she's trying to look good? The other thing is, and this is another problem in the African American community, why isn't her husband there? Why is he taking the photo and leaving to his woman to demonstrate this show of force? Now, you may not think this is important, but it's very important because in the African American community, the so-called nuclear family, the family unit has been broken up, And in place of the patriarchy, we have now a matriarchy. And that is a sure way of destroying a community, is having women take on the role of protectors. That is not a woman's role. The man needs to stand up and be the protector of the house. Her standing there and her man in back taking the photograph speaks of weakness. Anybody in militia or any white supremacist movement or any underground military movement would know that this is a sign of weakness. Furthermore, if she were to take a photo and wanted to stand there, and contrast this with what a white woman would do, she typically would be there in full military fatigues, not high heels and a dress. I'm not sure if she's attention seeking or what she's trying to do. Also, this creates to a climate of hostility. Now you're going to have law enforcement, individuals who are members of the neo-Nazi movement, the white supremacy movement, thinking that all black men are armed and dangerous, and all black women are armed and dangerous. So this sets the stage for shooting first and asking questions later. And I put in my write-up about this that if she were serious, why didn't she go after George Zimmerman and Emmett Till's murderers? If she were to take them out, then and only then would I somewhat believe she is serious about protecting her home. But again, we go back to my original point of why we're talking about this woman, a woman protecting the home, when the man should be there in full military fatigues, outfitted and ready to protect his home. And as someone who was versed in military weaponry, it only takes one bullet to kill a person. I don't understand what she needs with an array of different weapons like this. And showing them outwardly is only going to put a target on your back and make things worse. Again, this leads back to the idea of black people getting caught up in form, doing things symbolically. I point to the case where you had the Minister Louis Farrakhan, who in my mind has betrayed the interest of black people, specifically of what Malcolm X stood for. He led two movements on Washington, D.C., called the Million Man March, that essentially accomplished nothing. Nothing. There was no voter registration. There was no collecting of funds to buy land. There was nothing in a way to progress the movement of African Americans in this country. Another point is with former President Barack Obama. African Americans were so apt to vote for him. Now they're sour grapes. Now we're seeing that his administration accomplished nothing in the way of progress for African Americans. In fact, in many instances, Donald Trump has made more headway. Under Donald Trump's administration, unemployment prior to COVID-19 was at an all-time low for African Americans. So go figure. So the point, what I want to take away from this video, what I want you to take away from this video, has nothing to do with magic, has nothing to do with occult powers, but more so to stop this show of form, 22nd hexagram in I Ching, form and substance. We need to stop with the images, these images that represent symbolic gestures. They're meaningless. They only add to a climate of mistrust and hostility. We need to focus on real solutions and become active participants in the progression of equality for everyone. For everyone. And when I take a critical look at our actions, when it comes to the legwork, we're lacking. We are seriously lacking. But when I look at the symbolic gestures, They're everywhere. There's lots of talk, lots of memes, lots of us calling each other kings and queens, but no building of kingdoms. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what the problem is here. I want to thank you for listening to this. This is Ahmaud Arbery, son of Ma and Tahuti. My aunt is the beautiful goddess Heteru. Until my next video, Amen Ra.